One thing is abundantly clear, though, and it's silly that people can still deny it, is we're being lied to. We're being lied to in profound ways, man. I'm watching Canadian politics now, and it's just like the WWE. It's like kayfabe. 100%. It's like they're playing characters, and it's becoming increasingly clearer to people. I don't think they realize the extent the mask has slipped. The mask hasn't merely slipped, it's fallen off, and we could see the insidious, vacuous, self-serving creatures that lie beneath.
John Paul Berg, my most loved and most hated commentator at the same time, dude. I love you so much. I love you so much. But what happens to me is that I become supremely nihilistic, and then I kind of turn a corner, and I'm like, maybe we can turn this thing around. Maybe we can vote our way out of this. Maybe there's a democratic way to do this. And then I listen to you, and I'm like, he's fucking right. There's no way out. We can't get out of this.
I endeavor to not be such a black pill, man. There's always hope. It's like I say this all the time. I'm like becoming one of those old men that just repeat myself. But watching the Canadian electorate wake up over the last few years is very analogous to watching a vessel fill with rainwater. It's excruciatingly slow. If you're observing it, it's frustrating. But inevitably, man, it reaches that breaching point. And we reach the tipping point, and that's when you'll see change. And we're approaching that now. I mean, it just feels like you could feel something in the air.
Dude, I see, I'm 50-50 on that. You said something. Okay. So for our listeners, we just jumped into this. John Paul Berg is one of the few great commentators in Canada. I fucking love you, dude. You steal my hope from me every time I listen to you, because I know you're right. You know, I know that you have the right view of things, even though I don't want to believe it, because I want to believe that there's an easy way. Just like I think most Canadians, most Americans, most Westerners, we want to believe that there's an easy way. You know, whether it's remigration or, separation and becoming independent, our own independent nations, we want to believe that there's just an easy way out of this, but there really isn't. And when I listen to you, I'm like, damn it. He's right. There is no easy way.
There's geopolitical realities, right? Like you got to look at this thing. It's like I was saying from early on, trying to interpret this. The best edge I had on other people is I was observing European politics. I was watching what's been occurring in the UK, and they're ahead of us with this agenda. Specifically, the Commonwealth countries, you could see. I mean, there's external forces that are guiding our policies. Like there was a time not long ago that by saying that's so sensational, you could be dismissed. But we're reaching the point now where if you don't accept that very stark reality, you're likely naive. Like we've crossed the Rubicon, and we've arrived there now. It's just abundantly clear.
It really is, like when you talk to people and you see this in Canada all the time, where they are undyingly loyal to the status quo. And you're like, man, you are so lost. You are so in the dark. Like you're in a never-ending corn maze that you're never going to get out of. You're just wrapped up in this. And it's like crazy because, 20 years ago, if you had Alex Jones, right? 20 years ago, he's screaming about globalists dominating the world in these, secret societies like the Bilderbergs and the Club of Rome. Now it's like, if you don't believe that the World Economic Forum is like a quasi Legion of Doom, then you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of it can be explained just by basic cognitive dissonance. And it's like we were talking a bit before we started. When I was starting to put this together, you have that suspicion like, okay, well, I got to be fucking nuts. Like that's that's the more likely scenario, right?
It's true.
And that's what you feel. And as you're constantly, you're learning more, you're going deeper, you're reading more, you're observing it with this new framing. And you're like, no, I'm not going nuts. Like, everything's fake and gay. It's just how it is in Canada, man.
I mean, I don't even know if it's just Canada. I think it's the world in general, like the West specifically, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, Europe is further along than we are. And, it's like whenever I listen to Ursula von der Leyen, what would her title be? The president of the EU?
Yeah, she's like the main prime minister of the EU. I'm not sure if it's
Okay.
president or PM.
Whenever I listen to her speak, I'm like, how is this? How do people not see that this lady is a supervillain?
Oh my God, yeah. I'm waiting for
You
her
know
to
what I mean?
transition into a lizard or something every time I watch her, man. It's like she just shape shit.
Yeah. Well, like it's like the short hair, the pantsuits, like the whole thing. It's just crazy, right? Like I used a photo of her for one of the long clips that I post on YouTube, and I remember downloading it and looking at it and being like, holy fuck, this is dark. And it's just a photo of her, shoulders up, like portrait, standing in front of the EU flag, right? And it's like going around her head like a halo. And I was just like, this is like something, like this image alone is like something that you couldn't dream up.
Yeah,
Right.
you could feel it, man. She's got that Cruella de Vil vibe. You could tell
Right.
she's evil.
Yeah.
It's
Like you can
pretty
feel it.
abundantly clear.
Yeah.
It's
You can feel it.
It's funny with her though. They're what they're endeavoring to do now is exactly what Canada's regime is endeavoring to do, and that's their censorship laws, straight out of Davos and Brussels. C2, C8, and C9 will transition Canada into a totalitarian shithole, 100%. And
Yeah.
this isn't disputable. This isn't hyperbolous. That's just the fact. And I've spoken with constitutional lawyers that say the same. But what's funny about Ursula, it's like the EU has become the Soviet Union. They literally become them. Now they're talking about
Yes.
ideologically isolating their population. So with that, she uses the term the democracy shield, which is just peak irony. That's redefining irony. That's her censorship regime. It's going to be the democracy shield. So we're going to ideologically isolate. It's like I've been saying, Stalin had the Iron Curtain. This bitch got the irony curtain.
That's insane, dude. Well, you know what really grabbed me was at one of the recent World Economic Forum symposiums. I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody from the EU, and they said that this new phase this new era in global politics and economics will be defined as the giant leap. And I'm like, how is nobody picking up on this? I mean, it's the Great Leap Forward just rebranded.
Yeah, 100%, man.
But
it's the same thing. It's history repeating itself, right? And it's the same bad ideas. But I've been saying with Canada, it's like maple Maoism. Like we're divided on virtually every available metric. You hear there's Canadians, it's the left and the right are fighting, obviously. And then you got racial discontent. Different racial groups are now fighting in Canada. We're hearing the young people fighting with the old people, blaming each other. And all this division is occurring, the indigenous rights, the expropriation of private property. It's like, this is a cultural revolution. How can you guys not see this yet? I could see if we didn't have China to look at, like, this is exactly how it went down. We have our children are being indoctrinated with this pseudo-rebellious, pseudo-moralistic bullshit. You know what I mean? We're reducing, it's cultural Marxism because we're reducing racists down to their immutable characteristics. And you're just categorized. You're not the individual, Jason James. You're a white dude. You know what I mean? And then you're categorized. It's gross. It's gross. And rational people can see that it's gross. But at the same time, it's happening so fast. It's like, what are we even doing here? It's nuts.
Well, it's not just part. I think it is the main weapon in stripping people of their individual identities. Because, you said something. So for people listening, John Paul does this incredible podcast with Chris Erickson and Payman Asghari. I can't believe I blanked on Payman's name for a second. I talk to this guy every week. Called The Philosopher, the Stoic, and the Teddy Bear. It's easily one of the best podcasts on the internet right now. The three of you guys go deep. It's beautiful. You guys all have different perspectives, but you bounce off of each other really well. And you said something recently that grabbed me. You said people's egos are attached to attached to their ideology, right? And to their position. Yeah. There it is. And I've been saying the same thing in a different way. I've been saying that our identity has become our political ideology. And that's what happens when you reduce the individual to a series of, boxes, right? Is that you don't have an identity anymore. There's nothing left. All the only thing that the only way you can really identify is with a particular ideology. And it just so happens that at the same time, these political ideologies have become cult ideologies, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you're consistently reducing people to their racial profile, people are going to kind of get racialized. You're seeing people embrace it now, and it's a really bad sign, I believe. But there's some big questions that are trying to be asked presently now too. You're seeing this split with MAGA in America, and you're seeing with the populist right in Canada too. And it's one of the pivotal questions are, what is a Canadian? What is an American? And I mean, a lot of people are putting forth an ethnocentric viewpoint. And I don't think that's necessarily accurate, but it is relevant. You know what I mean? We were largely homogenous white European countries. And it's like the influx, the rapid pace of the mass migration has balkanized our electorate. It obviously there's tons of economic ramifications. There was no infrastructure reinforcement, and we influxed all these people. So there's all of that. But it's really messing and diluting the identity of Canadians and Americans to the point where it's like, well, what is an American? What is a Canadian? Are we just a piece of paper? Is this a commerce district, or are we a land and its people? And I don't have the answer, man, because it's not figured out yet. It's a very complicated question. We're actually, Payman and I are having Danielle Tyree from the Dominion Society on Dumb the Wiser tomorrow. Payman and I were critical and complimentary in some regards of their organization. And our audience is, a lot of them are pro-Dominion Society. So they said, well, why don't you have him on? We reached out, and he's a gentleman, man. He accommodated us entirely. He's like, yeah, come on, I'll chat with you. It's like, you got to respect that, right? And that's what we need to have, is these conversations. We need to like sit down and have them, and we need to ensure that it's independents that are having them, like true representatives of the Canadian electorate. And that's what I'm noticing. And one of the big reasons we started The Philosopher, the Stoic, and the Teddy Bear was to network with various independent voices in Canada. Because it's like I say, it's one thing, man, the politicians are lying. That's pretty normal. We're used to that. The mainstream media, the corporate press swill merchants, they're lying. But now when you come on social media, you're seeing all these big shill accounts. You know, a few 100,000 followers. They're literally providing you with the same sloppy regurgitations of party politics and talking points. It's the same thing that we've seen, and it's unbelievable. It's kind of a little demoralizing, because you think people are finally waking up. The Canadian electorate has taken a lot, but they're seeing their communities really getting bad. It's getting worse. And what they're seeing on mainstream media is not representing that. So they're, out of desperation, they're coming onto social media very apprehensively. And then they bump into like Pleb the Trucker or something, man. And they're presenting these guys as like independent voices. I actually got into it with Kat Kanata on there, man. Pretty good. She was roasting me. She shared a video. It was pretty funny. I'll give her props there. But I mean, I told her, debate me. Sit down and debate me, right? They can talk shit, but they won't publicly talk shit because they won't sit down with a true independent. I have nothing to prove, man. And the truth, that's all I want.
I to be honest with you, JP, I don't think it has anything to do with being independent or part of a team or whatever. I think what it has to do with is being a true critical thinker versus being an influencer, right? What a lot of these people are is they're faux commentators. You know, they're influencers masquerading as commentators, right? And you kind of have to parse through that a little bit. There's a reason why I haven't had any of these people on my podcast, and I won't go on theirs, and it's because I know what they're doing. You know, so just like a little, you know, behind the scenes on me, you know, my reels on Instagram were getting hundreds of thousands and millions of views, and things were rolling along really nicely. Then I posted a series of clips with Sam Cooper talking about China, and suddenly my account came to a dead ass stop, right? It's just recently picked up again, but I was in no man's land on that platform for like, you know, 3 months. And to be honest, I don't really fucking care, because to me, at least for me, you know, Instagram is a place mostly to watch people get hurt and watch hilarious videos, right? That's the only time I ever watch reels is if I'm sitting on the toilet and I need to, watch somebody fall into a garbage can from 30 feet, but they reached out to me and they wanted me to be part of their creator and influencer program. Right. And we had this long conversation, and the conversation kind of was a little, I don't know, I wouldn't say heated, but it kind of hit a wall, because I was like, I don't know how you guys want me to influence anything when you're throttling my account. Like, maybe look into that first and then we'll have the discussion. But what they were telling me was like, the instructions they were giving me were like, well, pay attention to what your audience is paying attention to, and, start to craft reels that are more in line with that. And I'm like, oh, you want me to help build a fucking echo chamber? Mm-hmm. That's what but that's what these people are doing, these influencers, right? And they're just using the political angle in order to build their small fortunes, right? To build their notoriety. And you can't compare those people to what, say, like you and Payman or myself or, others, other commentators do, because we're actually trying to have conversations. Now, no matter what angle you're coming at it from, whether you're conservative or liberal or independent, like we are, you can tell when somebody is genuinely has a real point of view, right? Like Josh Udall, I'll use him as an example. I was on his podcast in December. He's a fucking great guy. I disagree with him in a lot of ways because I feel like, he's very much in that conservative realm, right? Mm-hmm. But he has a real point of view and a real perspective. Although I disagree with the idea that we're going to be able to make it through this just based on political theatrics alone, it doesn't, that message doesn't resonate with me. But I see that he has a real perspective and a real point of view. I think he is a legitimate. He has legitimate ideas as a commentator. Right. But you can't compare him to what all of these other people are doing. And the thing is, the ironic part about it is they're playing the legacy media game. They're now wrapped up in the same model that the legacy media was wrapped up in forever and still is. And that's the ad model, right? Where the more engagement, the more your stuff is shared and viewed, the more dollars you earn. So therefore, they're going to continue. They're going to build an audience and then play to that audience, and in order to generate the ad revenue that they seek.
Yeah, right? So they're using this moment where so many Canadians are looking for answers. They're looking for a true voice in the storm, man, in the sea of convoluted information right now. And they're finding these people, these fake influencers. And like you say, I'm not going to say they're all working for the establishment, but they're audience captured, or they've been granted access to establishment politics. They've met friends, and then they get captured by the narrative. And then they, just like you say, they're just disseminating narratives. It's just like we shouldn't, like the news through the duration of our lives, it's intended to be the fourth estate. The functional premise of the media class is to condense the complexity of political discourse and then present it as a digestible summation to the people, to the electorate who are busy working and stuff, so they could read the newspaper and actually get an idea of what a policy means. But we didn't see that through the duration of our lifetimes. They might as well call the news the shit the regime wants you to believe. That's literally what it is. It wouldn't be too sensational to say we were born into a psyop. Everything's been synthetic, and it's not just Canada, it's the Western democracies. We were taught this was the free world, and it's seeming like we were just debt-ridden wage slaves the whole time.
But I want to pose this question to you, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, right? I've been staying away from social media for the most part. That's why you don't see me sharing your stuff or anybody's stuff, because I literally post and ghost. I post whatever I have to, then I get off and I just go do my own thing, because the chaos and the noise is hard to. It's not even hard to. I'm not even hard to just cut through, but it's hard to just be immersed in. And that's the thing that I've been finding for myself lately, is that I just don't enjoy being in the chaos of it all, because we're in this. I feel like we're in this existential crisis where we can't disseminate fact from fiction. We don't know what the truth is anymore. And so when you go on social media, really you're just exposing yourself to an endless streams of tailored speculation. And so I've been wondering if maybe the lie was better, that maybe we were better off when we had a narrative that we all followed and at least believed to be true in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah, I think everyone right now wishes there was a blue pill. I wish I could just go back to being the
Me
ignorant
too.
guy I was before I started looking into all of this stuff, right? But unfortunately, that doesn't exist. I mean, it's what you said there is very accurate. It's like there's so many competing narratives, and then there's this, like, it seems like there's like the fog of war, like powerful geopolitical players are at each other's throats right now. So I mean, that's further convoluting the discourse and the information. So that's what we have. And you're right, it is. You're just, that's what I say. Like, what are you going to wake up and then you go to YouTube and you just pick someone and then you believe what they say? It's like the alternative is getting a little taste of everything and then trying to kind of conceptualize your own framing. One thing's abundantly clear, though, and it's silly that people can still deny it, is we're being lied to. We're being lied to in profound ways, man. I'm watching Canadian politics now, and it's just like the WWE. It's like kayfabe. 100%. It's like they're playing characters, and it's becoming increasingly clearer to people. I don't think they realize the extent the mask has slipped. The mask hasn't merely slipped, it's fallen off, and we could see the insidious, vacuous, self-serving creatures that lie beneath. You look at all of them, man. It's like I would need to trust Canadian, especially federal politics right now. I would need one of them, it doesn't matter which party, to break the fourth wall and say, hey guys, this is all bullshit. They're all fucking lying to you and you're getting fucked. That, like, man, I would stand up and applaud if someone did that. They'd probably disappear shortly thereafter. But I mean, that's what it would take for me. I've lost faith in the establishment.
You know, I was listening to I saw a clip. I can't remember what podcast it is. It's a bigger podcast. It's one I haven't watched before, but this guy got invited to a party, and it was, I think, some form of, conservative event. And Tucker Carlson was there, and Candace Owens was there, and got people from Turning Point USA was there. All these commentators who, publicly are at each other's throats a lot of the time. And they were all hanging out. I think Nick Fuentes was there as well. They were all hanging out, having a great time. There was no tension in the room whatsoever. And what he said was, this is all theater, right? Like this, and that's like, I feel like that's the world we're in, where everything is a performance, and we're just inundated with a million different scripts for every single performance. So like, at least for myself, I've been retreating from the social media world for the most part, because I just want to touch ground and be in the real world. Like even this year, the episode that I did prior to this one was a solo podcast where I kind of talked about what's happening with my podcast and what I'm going to be doing going forward. And I'm going to be focusing a lot more on spirituality. I'm going to be focusing a lot more on talking to people in different places in the world. Like I'm going to have on some journalists from Venezuela. I've been reaching out to people from Palestine and Israel and Iran. And I want to touch different corners of the world, but I want to talk to real people, and that's going to be my focus for this year you're one of those people, you're one of those real people. And that's the funny thing is, when I was thinking about my guest list for this year, like who I wanted to have on, you were like the first guy that popped in my head. Cause I'm like, I want to talk to real people, even though JP breaks my heart on a regular basis. I want to talk to real people, because I feel like we're losing that. And what people watching this at home or on their phone or at work or wherever you are right now, what you don't realize is that a lot of the stuff that you're consuming, whether it's social media clips or podcasts, it's all just designed to keep you engaged and to generate the ad dollars that those people see. And it's hard to differentiate people like you and I from the others, right? And like, I just feel like we're in this weird place where it's like our lives are constructed by algorithms. And so we're locked into these iron bubbles that we can't escape from. And most people, because they don't do what you and I do, they don't know that a lot of the shit that they're watching is just made up bullshit. It's just designed to keep them engaged.
And they get captured by various narratives, and then they can't deviate from it. Like, I know people that every time they stub their toe, they think it's the Jews, bro. I'm not exaggerating, man. And then I know people where it's like, it's the same thing, but it's China. And then it's like, oh, well, it's the City of London. It's the banking British Empire, Anglo-American establishment. Like, there's so many competing narratives, you don't know where to start. It's a trip for me hearing, I got to make a confession here on Brave New Normal. I was very hesitant to if I could even do this. I was writing a lot of posts. I was getting a lot of followers on X. And then it was the 51st state thing. And I was very pro 51st state. I had some good arguments. And Payman said, well, come on and debate me. So I went on. It was the first time I met Payman. Really, I think we had a brief conversation before that. And we did an episode. Now, I had watched your show a bunch with Sam Cooper prior to this. You were like, you're a big podcaster. You know what I mean? Like, to me. And I went back on Payman's show after we did that. We got a lot of views on that debate. And Payman was like, yeah, I was on with Jason James. And he was saying, and during the recording, I was like, oh, cool, man. I'm glad people like it. And then I went back and I'm like, that was fucking Jason James. And I started to put it all together. And then I watched you saying like some very positive things about me. And I was like, dude, I could do this. It gave me, honestly, that little bit of encouragement. It's like, fuck it. I'm buying a mic, honey. You blame Jason James. I'm buying some lights, and I'm going to endeavor to do this, right? I have a reasonable perspective, and people will enjoy it. And I thank you for that, because it's taken my life in a different direction for sure.
Oh, brother, listen, man, if there was ever a guy who was made to do this, it's you. I mean, your ability to articulate yourself is leaps and bounds. Like, I listen to you and I'm like, if I could articulate myself half as well as JP does, I wouldn't think of myself as such a fucking monkey. Like, my problem is half the time I'm talking, I'm like, oh, I've used that. I've said that same thing in like 10 other episodes, or I've used that same word like 50 times in the last half an hour, right? Like, dude, my God, like, you're one of the guys and sorry everybody for watching this, because this ass kissing session will be over soon. But dude, you're one of the guys that I listen to and I'm like, yeah, you got it. Like, you have it figured out, and like, Payman, for example, if Payman were to run for prime minister tomorrow, I would vote for him in a heartbeat. I think he's one of the few people in this country that are actually qualified to run it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a fucking tragedy that he couldn't get people behind him in the last election to just vote for him for, the local office, right? Because Payman is one of those guys that, came to this country as an immigrant. And this is where the ethno-nationalism argument is completely lost on me, because Payman is a pure example of why we need immigration, why immigrants are an invaluable resource in our country. Payman knows the documents, our founding documents, better than every fucking person born in this country, period. End of story. He understands our laws. He understands the way our system works. He understands what's wrong with it, what's broken about it. That's why I asked him to do our weekly live stream together, because I wanted to introduce him to my audience so that people would get a glimpse of what I saw in him and the things that I was listening to and on inlay terms in the various live streams and such, right? But he is a prime example of why immigration is important, why we have to allow people into our country, because I truly believe that Payman is one of he's on a very short list of people actually qualified to run our country. And I would vote for him in an instant, unquestionably.
Me too, man. Payman's become one of my closest friends for sure. So, I
fucking love that guy, man.
I'm friends with the guy, but everything you say is absolutely true. And the thing is, man, that I look at with some of this, because some of the arguments, like I have a podcast with Daniel Tyree tomorrow. Now, this will be out probably before this airs. Yeah. But I'm thinking about it. I'm writing. I'm trying to come up with some arguments. And it's just like, I just don't know, man. It's such a complicated question. What is a Canadian? Because I don't want to be reduced to a piece of paper. Anyone can't necessarily be a Canadian. But some of their arguments, it's like, it's ethnocentric. It's like, well, there was Irish, English, French, and Scottish, and there was an ethnogenesis. And I don't believe that. I don't think there's a race of Canadians. But what there was a cultural genesis. There was an amalgamation of various cultures, and man, there were the blacks and indigenous too, and lots of others. And then other parts of Europe early on. Like it's not some liberal centric view to believe the complexity of the question. It can't be reduced to an ethno answer. In my estimation, it can't. Now, I'm going to debate this tomorrow very respectfully because Daniel Tyree's not a racist. I fucking hate that shit, or woke right. You can't dismiss people, man. We've been down these roads. Like, if you have an effective argument and you want to articulate it, this young gentleman will sit down with you. You know what I mean? Like, they're not trying to cancel anyone. That's not woke right. Like, it's such a bullshit term, and it's just such a reductionist way to dismiss your competitors or people that have an opposing ideology, and it'll get us nowhere, man. This is a relevant question. What is a Canadian? Because I don't like the ethnocentric one, but I don't like the opposite of that neither. I don't want to be just a piece of paper. There is something more to it, right? So it's like, this isn't going to be answered by any one individual. The only way to quantify this would be some kind of consensus. I mean, we're not going to have a vote on it, but I mean, it's going to figure itself out. And how what's going to be a catalyst for that answer inevitably coming is conversations, good faith conversations with people, right? And that's what we're not seeing with a lot of the kind of party politics or influencer accounts that are dominating the space. While they're dominating it, dude, we're all deboosted. We're all suppressed on these algorithms. I get no action on YouTube or TikTok or anything. I got a following on X. But that's it. And even I'm deboosted there all the time, right?
Well, I mean, like, for myself, look, if you want to ask the question, what is a Canadian, just off the cuff, without putting any real thought into it, I would say we're pre-revolutionary Americans.
Well, that's what's funny about the ethnogenesis argument, because genetically we're identical to Americans. So how can we have a unique ethnogenesis or a unique ethno-heritage if we're identical to another person from another country, right?
Well, the thing that drives me crazy is the whole heritage thing. That it's just code for white. Like, let's be honest, guys. Let's get fucking real here, right? Like, with with the ethno-nationalism thing, where you're talking about French, Scottish, British, and Irish, you're already referring to 4 other ethnic groups, all of which originate from Germanic ancestry, right? So if you want to like really go deep and you want to trace back the roots, even the Irish, the Scottish, the British, and the French can't lay claim to being specifically British, Irish, Scottish, or French, because they all came from somewhere else as well. Mm-hmm. You want to go all the way back. You want to keep going. Then we all came from Africa, right? But, and we all, you know what I mean? But the reality is what is a Canadian is that we are Americans in denial. That's all we are, is that we are the ones who didn't pick up the muskets and fight for our freedom.
Yeah. And that's what's happening. There's like I guess a concerted effort to romanticize our past and say like, oh, we were loyalists. Because a lot of these guys are post-liberals. So it's like, they're
what is a post-liberal? JP, break that down. What is a post-liberal?
A post-liberal is like Nick Fuentes would be post-liberal. He equates everything that's wrong in society and Western culture is because of the failures of liberalism. I don't see it like that at all. Why? Because I've read too much. I know better. What's happened to the West is an oligarchy, like literally influencing us, a greedy oligarchy. That's what it is, dude. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I've read extensively. I'll cite some of the resources, like Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley, Tragedy and Hope 101 by Joseph Plummer, Operation Gladio, the Empire in Which the Black Sun Never Sets. Like, there's power networks that have been controlling things, and a lot of this is coming out now. So it's just, it blows my mind when you see the complexity of it, that you can have that type of a reductionist view. Oh, it's just liberalism. But then again, it's the younger generation. All they've ever experienced was this. It's those dumb libs. I hated that right away, bro, because liberalism was never leftism. It was never like that word. There's not another word in the English language that has been distorted to the extent that liberal has. Everything we're seeing is illiberal. By its very definition, this is an illiberal movement. Any authoritarian actions or collectivism is illiberal. So, I mean, but it's not. And that's kind of one of the effects of it. But like, I look at it even deeper. It's like, the weaponized mass migration was weaponized. We could see that much from other Commonwealth nations, specifically Europe. They want to balkanize the electorates. And then it's like, you got to ask yourself, why would they do that? And I mean, I don't think it's just for cheap wages. I think it's for the reaction. I think they want a violent reaction. I think they want the homogenous whites to react, tribe up based on that. And then they come in, hey, it's chaos. You guys are all fighting with each other. What's a better reason to then implement sweeping new laws, right? And I mean, that's a definite stretch on my behalf. But I mean, this is the kind of psychological warfare moment we're in. It's like, and in psychological warfare, very frequently, your reaction is your enemy's true action. It's just like chess. I'm trying to get you to go for my pawn and not see that queen there for checkmate, right? Like, it's the same premise. And I really feel like we're being played. Everything is just an op, man. And I feel like the ants, bro. Here we are in Canada. I know it's our system, really. We got to stop even looking left and right. We have to look up at the integrity of our institutions and the soundness of our currency. It's all fiat, fractional reserve garbage, and it's coming to an end. That pyramid scheme is coming to an end, and it's scary. There is some kind of a reset coming. And I mean, honestly, if I could give any advice to Canadians watching, it's like, start to look to America a little bit, man. Because you might not like the thought of it. It might get you in your nationalistic, prideful fucking bones. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's the way the wind's blowing, especially where we are. We have proximity. It's the longest undefended border. I mean, it's like we're not going to be able to separate from that. And they're really reinforcing their, what would you call it, an empire at this point? I mean, honestly, that's the way the wind's blowing.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's an empire. I mean, even look at what's happening off the coast of Venezuela right now, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you have American vessels attempting to seize Russian tankers, Russian submarines popping up out of the water. The Chinese are freaking the fuck out because they needed Venezuela, and now they don't have Venezuela anymore. And you're watching this the empire defend itself against these two other superpowers, China and Russia. That's what Venezuela is all about. You know, guys, don't think for a second that Donald Trump gives a flying fuck about socialist or communist dictators. He doesn't. This is about maintaining control over the Southern Hemisphere. Right?
It's the petrodollar too, right? Like, every war of our lifetimes it's about, you're going to sell oil, you're going to sell it in US dollars. That's how the U.S. maintains the hegemon on currency, right? And that's coming to an end too. So it's like, what we're watching is America make some stark realizations. Like, they can't be overcommitted in Europe, especially when their European allies are very much becoming other countries now. Like, we don't know which way it's not looking good. So what they have to do is ensure hemispheric security to an extent. That's just, I'm not saying I agree with what they're doing. That's not the case at all. I'm trying to interpret what's occurring. And I mean, like, clearly there's bigger things going on, and that's the extent of it. So that's bodes kind of well for Canada. I don't think they're going to be able to let Canada exist with the hub for international crime we are. Like, we're a mess, man.
Yeah, I see. This is what I've been thinking about lately, and I'm bringing, me and Sam are getting back together for the first episode of 2026 next week. And this is the conversation that I want to have with him as well, is what does this all mean for us? Because we know we're not just going to walk away from this, right? Like, we're not just going to, especially, you know, when you see what's happening in Venezuela, you know, earlier in the year, the United States took back the Panama Canal from China. You're seeing these power moves, these big power plays, and Canada is just waiting. You know, it's like it's just wide open, and there, something has to give, something has to happen at some point. Now, when it comes to Canada, I do believe that Mark Carney was a power play, of a different kind, of a globalist power play, because the thing that a lot of people aren't aware of is that Mark Carney and Brookfield made a $1 billion loan to Jared Kushner, who is Trump's son-in-law, to cover for a bad real estate investment. And I think that Brookfield has the Trump family on the hook, not just for that, but for a number of reasons. See, Brookfield Asset Management is very closely aligned with BlackRock. And when you're talking about figures, say, for example, like Jeffrey Epstein, and, you know, these, Here's the interesting thing about Jeffrey Epstein that I discovered looking through those documents. Now, I agree with people like Michael Tracy and Matt Taibbi when they say there's nothing really there in the documents, that nothing really incriminating. Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit, a lot of shit that we wouldn't consider socially acceptable or things that we find, that make us uncomfortable. But there's no smoking gun. However, what's interesting is that in Jeffrey Epstein's communications, especially as they relate to Ehud Barak, right, who was the former prime minister of Israel, and I believe he was the director of the IDF. I always fuck this up. He was either the director of the IDF or the Mossad, but I believe it was the IDF. What's interesting is that it appears that Jeffrey Epstein is giving him and the people that are connected to him marching orders, right? So what we're getting a glimpse into, what's unique about this document dump, and the thing that I think most people have completely missed, is that we're actually getting a glimpse into how the world really functions. And that we think about, countries like Israel and the Mossad and the MI6 and the CIA as being like these intelligence agencies and the deep state that secretly controls everything. But for the first time, we're getting a look into what the deep state really is. And it's these globalist international bankers, the BlackRocks, the Brookfields, the State Streets, and so on and so on and so on. And I think that is the power play. I think Mark Carney had to happen, in the globalist realm in terms of Canada, because if he didn't, we'd be living in a way different country right now. It'd be a very different world. And I truly believe that he is the trump card against Trump.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, but I mean, I don't believe Trump is making his decisions. I think he's like, there's powerful things going on, man, and like. And then again, it kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier. It's hard to really see what's happening, right? Like I've used this analogy. It's like we're all sitting at a theater and there's such a commotion behind the scene, behind the curtain, that it's actually swaying the curtain. And like, if you're watching carefully, you could see the odd glimpse behind it. Holy shit, like that, right? And that's kind of what's happening with these power networks, right? Like and again, that's with Canada, that's what's happening too. I'll tell you what really put it together for me and Pierre. I've written extensively about this and speak about it. But when I realized Pierre, like I was skeptical like everyone else, he's not speaking to the contentious issues all along the way. It's like, oh, we're just being drug along, right? So they can accomplish their ends. But what really did it was Trump's reaction to him. Because other populists at other parts in the world that were more aligned, they got a different treatment entirely. Right away, Trump was like, I'm not interested in that guy. He's not one of my guys. And like, Trump's very theatrical, performative, brash. But I mean, he's also very careful with what he's saying. And I mean, he showed Pierre's full hand there. When Pierre was like turned around and had the exact same approach to Trump and the tariffs as Carney did, it's like, guys, we're not looking at two different parties. We're looking at an establishment that's just well entrenched. But when I'm watching it, man, what my instincts tell me, and this is obviously conjecture, I'll qualify it as such, but what my instincts tell me is that Canadians, relative to our proximity to the most powerful country in the world, I think we're probably going to be all right. I don't think it's going to be an easy transition, and I don't know what's going to happen. But I think, and I'm not even saying, we're going to be in American territory, a 51st state, but something big is coming, man. And I'm telling you, Canada is going to inevitably have to ally with America. Carney's trying to provide the illusion he's going to pull us towards the failing EU. Without America, what do they have? And America did a national divorce from them, essentially, with the release of their national security papers. Like, that was unbelievable. That was a big blow to the city of London, to all of the Europeans, the bureaucrats. So it's like, I think.
Can you go into that, JP, a little bit? Can you break down what that was?
Well, yeah, we watched what JD Vance went over, and he did a talk there. I think he was in the UK, but he was talking about what they're doing with their citizens, saying with the free speech, like the threat in Europe is from the bureaucracy, is what he essentially said, and they didn't like that, being kind of lectured by an American. And then Trump did his big speech at the UN delegation in New York, and they sabotaged the escalator on the guy, and then they fucked with his the thing that shows the words, teleprompter.
His
And he's
teleprompter.
up there and he's making jokes. He's like, yeah, he has messed with my teleprompter, but that's all right. I'm still going to say what I came to say. And he went into it, man. The mass migration, weaponized mass migration, you're killing your people, the green scam agenda, all of it. He just laid it out cold. And it's like they're letting them know in no uncertain terms, like, we're not on board with this. And then with this, the release of the document, that just reiterated, it's like, we're not going to be militarily allied with the European Union. We don't know where these countries are going. And I don't know the exact language, but this is a paraphrase. It's like, you're quite literally becoming something else. And they are. How can you not acknowledge that about Europe? I mean, demographically, like, that's a radical transition. There's Christian European, Western European countries that are becoming Islamic because of the influx of Western, of mass migration. It's crazy, man. And we're watching the post-World War II order is kaput. That's long gone. And we're watching a restructuring of some kind. And it's very tenuous right now. And like I say, I pray anyway, the Canadians are going to be all right relative to proximity to America.
But the thing is, America has to win. Mm-hmm. That like, you know, I was having this conversation offline with somebody not too long ago. And this is a very, very intelligent person, somewhat famous. And they were talking about American hegemony and how that game is over. And I was saying it may be over, but the thing is, it can't be over for the sake of the world. As bad as America has been, like, look, I'll freely acknowledge any day. And if anybody wants to track back through my history as a writer, go back to the early 2000s, because I was blowing the lid off of the World Bank and the IMF on a weekly basis. I mean, the United States has done some of the most horrifying terroristic shit around the world for decades. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is this: they actually are the balance that the world needs. They have to win. As ugly as a lot, like, just look at Venezuela right now. A lot of people have some very polarizing views on this. I know a lot of Venezuelan people are very, very happy to see Maduro leave. The question is, what happens afterwards? What's coming in behind it? And you know that those 5+ billion barrels of oil are definitely on the minds of of Donald Trump and his administration, right? So, but the thing is as ugly as America has behaved around the world for almost 80 years, right? You could even track it back earlier, but let's say World War II onwards. As ugly as they have been, they have to fucking win, because if they don't, the alternative is far worse. It's far more dangerous. Like, you see what's emerging in the EU right now. You see what's emerging in Canada. And I argue, yes, I'm the China guy. It's always China, but it actually is. And if you want to see where our world is going without the Americans, just look at the Chinese communist system and what they have in place there, because that's what they're introducing here. Bill C8, C9, now C12. Bruce Party directed my attention to Bill C5. We have a number of bills that mirror the laws and legislation in China that literally entrapped the Chinese people, right? So what we're experiencing is our own version of the Chinese Communist Revolution, which you said, the Maple Maoists, mm-hmm. right? And the EU is in the same, I mean, they're further down the road, but they're on the same path. And then if you really want to dig deep, look at who the largest donor is to the World Health Organization and to the UN and other globalist NGOs. It's always China, right? Yes. So America has to fucking win. Whether we like it or not, America has to win.
I think we'll see a reestablishment of balance, right? And that's why America is concerned about getting China out of their hemisphere. China's doing like $500 billion annually from Latin America and South America. Yeah. And while America is fighting all these regime change wars in Eastern Europe or in for Israel or Iraq, Afghanistan, all that we've seen, I mean, it's been neglecting what's right in its backyard. And that's what's changing now. And we're going to see, it's like you hear this term a lot, a multipolar world. There's going to be numerous powers. Like there was a balance when we were younger between, during the Cold War, between the the Soviet Union and the Americans. That was the two big powers, and there was a balance. There was peace there. But now, I mean, the Chinese have come up, and that is the future model for technocratic governance, 100%. Every other power will emulate what China has done. Obviously, they want, and that's what it is. We have an oligarchy, and they want control. I mean, in the West, man, like I say it in a hyperbole, like it's hyperbole, but I mean, we're essentially like, this is not a country, it's not a nation, it's a globalist commerce district. We're just numbers. We're not citizens, dude. We're like indentured to this perverse corporation that we still think is a country. Our leaders don't give a shit about us. We're numbers to them, man.
Yeah.
They've reduced us to numbers, and that's the way it's going. And I mean, we definitely got to pull back on that. And you're seeing that a bit in America. I flip-flopped on Trump a lot. I feel I have hopium for Trump. I hear all the bad things. I see all the bad things. There's a lot of shit that doesn't make sense. But at the same time, man, I think he's made some positive changes for sure. I think today, dude, he was talking about making it illegal for multinational corporations to own homes.
Okay, so here's what I was going to say. I think Trump is well intentioned. I truly believe that, because I see what he does and I see the way he moves, and those are the maneuvers of a good person, a person who wants to do good. I think what he's fighting is something internal that he cannot get rid of, that he can't strip out. I mean, Dan Bongino just left the FBI. Kash Patel is clearly way over his head. We haven't heard much from Tulsi Gabbard, which, could just be a conscious decision because she's taking her job seriously and she's not on X every 10 minutes like Kash Patel is, acting like he's still doing a podcast when he's the director of the FBI. But you see these inner conflicts within his administration where, they say one thing and then another thing happens, or, the Epstein files are a really good example where, Trump is saying we're going to release all the Epstein files, and then his office doesn't want to, push them out. And then he comes out and here's the thing. Trump is very, very, he's very rough around the edges. He's not great at articulating himself and his ideas. However, he is very media savvy, obviously. Mm-hmm. So to see the doublespeak, to see the hypocrisy like live on display, there's something at work behind the scenes. Something is pulling the levers around him, and he's realizing like, oh shit, I can't do some of the stuff. I almost feel as if there is this cabal of military industrial complex, slash globalist banker slash, fucking weird Satanist dudes in black cloaks who like come out of the closet and they're like,
there definitely is. Like,
yeah, right. Like,
what else makes sense?
Right. Like they come out of like a closet in the Oval Office and they're like, we'll give you Epstein, but we won't give you the names. And then they close the doors and that's it. That's the word, right? Like there's something out there that is in control.
There's immensely powerful networks of oligarchs.
And I don't think we know who they are.
No, definitely not. We see their spokespeople. We see Klaus Schwab. We see Larry Fink. We see, like, if we know their name, the most relevant conversations happening regarding the West are happening in rooms far away from public scrutiny by people you and I wouldn't even recognize. I really believe that, man.
I believe that too. I believe that too. And I also think too, like, we've had certain figures that were public that we knew were in those circles. For example, Henry Kissinger. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, those people move in complete silence. Like, did you know, here's something interesting. Did you know that nobody really knows who owns like Vanguard or State Street? Nobody knows who's at the top. Yeah. I think we're getting closer. I think we're getting closer to the truth. Now, here's the thing. This kind of goes back to my statement from like half an hour ago. Do we want to know the truth? Do we want to know what really runs our world? Will it be so paradigm shattering that we'll never recover from it as a civilization? I don't know.
It's like it's a thing called Chesterton's fence. And the premise is if you encounter a fence in the woods and you can't see a reason for it, you should probably just leave it there. You know what I mean? It's like,
I
what
like
happens
that.
if you take it off, right? And that's what it
Yeah.
is. It's like, what if we know? What if we don't know for good reason? What if it's something that we couldn't even fathom? Like, there's a lot of people that are far out there, and I'm not trying to advocate for these people, but the David Icke's kind of
Yeah.
like, it is some kind of an interdimensional non-human intelligence, and it seems like the government's setting us up for some shit like that too, right? You see a lot of people talking about that. Are they going to say, oh well, it's the UFOs are who's in charge? You gotta, you're going to eat the bugs, you got to get the vaccines, the fucking UFOs told you to, right? Like, now I'm being facetious and immensely speculative. I don't really believe that, but honestly at this point, who knows, man?
Who the fuck knows? And that's, and again, like, the internet introduced us to the real world. And I think as people okay, here's something interesting. I'm 43. JP, you're
42.
probably 42. So okay, there we go. So you and I are basically the same age. Mm-hmm. So we grew up in the candy cane world of the 90s, where like everything was bagel bites were healthy for you, pizza pops were dinner, the fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were all you needed to know. Say Kelly Kapowski was the shit. She was the hottest girl in the world. Like, yeah, hell, motherfucking yeah. I have Saved by the Bell on my Roku channel. I'm not allowed to watch it in my house because my wife gets angry. Anyways. It's a great show. She knows that that's my childhood crush, and that's the one you hold on to forever. Anyways, point is, that sounded weird. It sounds like I jerk off to teenagers. I don't, but Kelly Kapowski will always have a special place in my heart. Anyways, point is we grew up in a very phony world, right? We grew up in a pretend world, and we were part of that generation that were 18, 19 years old when the internet arrived. And when we were introduced to the internet, all bets were off. It was no holds barred. This is how being 18, 19 years old when the internet arrives for public use is how you create Jason James and John Paul Berg. I mean, this is, 20 years of us being like, holy fuck, no way. Like this is where you end up. Mm-hmm. But what I've noticed with my son, he's 15 tomorrow. And the thing that I've noticed with his generation is that they're going the other direction, where they're just like, I don't even want to fucking hear it, man. Like, I'm not even interested. Like, I want to wear cool clothes and, Snapchat my dick and whatever. Like, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to be involved in the transgender discussion. None of that shit. I don't want to talk about any of it. And it's like, they're going, like, they're subconsciously choosing to go back to the way things were.
They're correcting. They're self-correcting. Me and my wife had a conversation today. She has a friend she works with, and their son is 19. And he has a girlfriend, and he bought a ring for her. And her husband, or his father was saying to my wife, like, yeah, it's not an engagement ring or anything. It's just a promise ring. And then she found out further that they're virgins. They're saving themselves for marriage. They've been together for a long time. So I'm thinking to myself, and I said to my wife, it's like, everything is gone that depraved. We've deviated so far from anything wholesome or good that the kids are starting to, the way to be different now is to put a suit on, to pull your fucking pants up and stand up straight and try to be a man, want to be a father, want to save yourself for your wife, want to have a successful marriage. Like, it's like we've come full circle now, and the kids are craving that. Of course they would. What's real in this world? And that's what you're seeing with people coming back to Christ. Me, myself included.
Here's the crazy thing. Okay, I don't want to interject. I don't want to interrupt, but I have to say this because this is the one that like blew my mind the most. So I found my way back to God a couple of years ago. I consider myself a non-religious Christian. I know that's a very convoluted, confusing title, but the way I explain it to people is I follow Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ only. I don't follow anything else, just Jesus, period. Right? Jesus is my teacher. Jesus is what leads me in my life. So I did that quietly on my own because I'm one of those people where I feel like your spiritual beliefs and foundations are yours and not to be forced on anybody else. And I knew that if I walked my path that eventually my family would see and hopefully they would follow. Right? Now, my wife did. My wife saw the changes I was making in my life. I had talked to her about it a number of times, but I never pushed it on her. My wife found her way back to Christianity. Now, here's the really interesting thing, though. Both of my kids, my son's 15, my daughter is 8 years old, are really interested in Jesus Christ, and not because of anything I've said to them. They just came to it on their own.
Yeah, it's coming back, man. Like we've again, it's all relative to how far we moved away from God, just as a centralized logos for morality. And
Yes.
we've moved away from that. And what did we come into? Moral relativism. That's everything's subjective now. There's not even a fucking meta narrative. None of that matters, right? It's your truth. Feel good. Feel good. Put a premium on happiness. And where did that lead us? Nowhere, man. And we're starting to realize that, and we're seeing it correct itself. I'm a firm believer in Christ. My journey's a little different. Now, I was raised Catholic. My mother worked for the diocese. My wife was raised Catholic. We're from Cape Breton, man. Cape Breton,
Yeah.
Nova Scotia is very Catholic. I didn't think about it since I was 11, bro. I moved away from it to the secular world. I became a lapsed Catholic. And then I started to read about it again. I started to encounter Jordan Peterson back in the day when everyone was first encountering him. And I started to actually hear, because the new atheists ruined us. Like the Christopher Hitchens, the Richard Dawkins, they convinced
Yes.
our generation that was mythology. And that was so disingenuous, man. Atheists from other times, they realized the gravity of what they were trying to do, because God is a given. How can you look at this miracle and the fine tuning of it and just attribute it to some big bang? We're just a happy accident. Go be happy. Get the fuck. That's crazy, man. That just can't be the way. But I mean, I came back to the church. I really like the tradition of it. I know the Catholic Church as an institution is profoundly corrupt. I've read extensively on it, but I think there's something to it. And for me, like, I went deep, dude. I learned Latin. I learned how to do all the prayers in Latin. I do the
That's
rosary in
amazing.
Latin. Yeah, I get a lot out of it, man. But it's
I want to say this just really quickly, because I want to back up what you're saying. So me and my wife and my children attend a Pentecostal church in the town where I live. And despite my disagreements with the Paulian approach to Christianity, I truly, in a lot of ways, and this is a deeper conversation you and I can have at a later date, but I believe that Paul knew what he was doing, and he was purposely creating a narrow, rigid ideology that Rome would adopt and use to control the people. That's my personal belief. But I walk out of that building feeling lighter, despite it all.
Oh, dude, it's real. Like when I first started to come, I came to it intellectually. Like, again, I was reading Jordan Peterson. I was watching his biblical lectures where he was telling the psychological significance of these narratives. And I realized these fucking stories are profound. And I remember telling people, like, no, man, like, they're profound. You have no idea what these stories are. And we know them, and that, like, morality is encoded in that. That is the logos. These stories, and Jesus was the embodiment of the logos of the Old Testament, the New Covenant. I mean, it started to click for me, right? But I mean, it's something people have to get to on themselves. I'm not one for evangelizing, like, because you couldn't have did that to me. I had to get there by myself. And I think any forceful attempt, like anything that is done by force or coercion, is done for the tyranny of man, not the glory of God. That has to be a reciprocal personal thing, man, or it's not real. It's as simple as that.
Brother, that is beautiful. I'm going to chop that out and I'm going to write that down and put it on my fucking wall, because it's the truth, man. Like, you know, like the way my journey back to God was literally purely organic. It was completely on my own. I just heard this is going to sound nuts to non-believers, but I just heard God's voice saying, "Hey man, it's time to come home. Can't do this by yourself anymore. I got a plan for you. I got a mission." And for people watching this, Brave New Normal only exists because of that moment. This is where God sent me. God said, go talk to the people. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be fucking hard, but maybe not in those words. But
a very similar story, man. I was in a dark spot spiritually. I wasn't an atheist, but I was one of those agnostic dudes. I did a lot of psychedelics.
Me too. Me too.
And I knew there was more to life, but I thought organized religion was lame. Like that can't be right. That's just a system of control. That's for weak-minded people. All the cliches from the 90s and the early 2000s that you believe. Yeah. But as I started to, and again, it was intellectually at first, I started to go to mass. I started to experience the big thing for me is the prayers. And then
Yeah.
learning the Latin prayers, like there's breathing to it as you're saying them. It's different, man. You're doing that rosary and you're hammering off the Latin verses. Like I'm meditating, like it's a
Yeah.
meditation on Christ, and it's profound what my mind does during that. The strength and resolve it gives me to kind of tolerate the complexity of the world right now. Like I'm not concerned, man. And that's the freedom they can't take from you, bro. I don't care what fucking type of authoritarian dictator or tyrant you're dealing with. Once you've given yourself to Christ, that's the freedom that exists within you. They can't take it from you. And that's why so many of us have martyred as to not do it. It's like, you're not going to take that from me. I'm bigger than that. Christ is bigger than that. And that's why there's attacks on Christians. Why? Because you can't fucking own a Christian. You know what I mean? His name is Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude, you know what's crazy is I was at church last Sunday and I was looking around and I was thinking to myself, this is the one room where I can be completely myself without any reservations, without any guard, nothing. Like this is where I can be completely my true, honest, pure self, the person that I am. And it's the one room where people of all races, all backgrounds, all ethnicities can gather, and we're all equal. Mm-hmm. We're all equal here. There's no politics. There's no bullshit. We're all here unified by our connection to our Creator. Mm-hmm. And it's such a beautiful thing, man. Like, I always, like I said, I refer to myself as a non-religious Christian because ideologically, having done the reading, I know that there is a lot that religion has done to dilute Jesus and who he was. And I have a personal bone to pick with that because in my opinion, if Jesus Christ was the Messiah, was the great prophet, the great teacher, then every word he ever said that has been documented should be included in the New Testament, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, right? And there's a lot that Jesus says, for example, in the Gospel of Thomas, that was not included in the New Testament, that is very eye-opening about the person that he actually was. For example, he says, a lot of people, you may think of me as the great unifier, but what you don't know about me is that I am the great divider, that I will cause the collective to split, for father to be against son to be against father. But it's through that you will find who you are, right? Like his depth is like wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he is the historical figure. He was the Son of God. And I mean, for me, I listen to a lot of people evangelizing and apologists. Like there's really popular ones like Wes Huff, like the famous Christian apologist. And I listen to these debates, man, about what's the right faith. And it's like, dude, we're all missing the point. It's Christ. That's what it is. And
exactly,
it's like we got to stop trying to meticulously analyze. Well, it's Catholic,
that's right,
Orthodox, it's Eastern Orthodox, it's Greek Orthodox, it's Pentecostal, it's whatever. It's like, look, man, we got to just get back to the unifying aspect of it. It's like we could be divided, and that's what everyone wants us to do, is divide on every available metric. When it comes to Christ, let's just make it Christ in some real way. At least Christians should have that solidarity with one another. I don't care the denomination, right?
I mean, not even like, look, I'll use myself as an example. I am a guy who historically in my life was very quick to anger, and that, I'm a trained fighter. I've been boxing my entire life. I have 10 years of jiu-jitsu underneath me. If things get physical, I can handle myself. Right. And I've been in situations in my life where things get to that tipping point, to that edge. And, I don't know how to say this, but violence has been part of my life, my entire life. It wasn't until God called me home and I started reading what Jesus had to say that I was like, I have to meet everything with love. Love. That's his message. His entire message is love. Mm-hmm. If you want to break it down to like a fundamental.
He is love. These are the same things, right?
Well, his, and guys, I'm not going to turn this into a sermon, but the foundation of his teaching is this: love your neighbor, love your enemy. And if you just, they're very simple, but extremely difficult to apply. Mm-hmm. But what I've noticed in my life over the last few years is if I just meet everything with love, as hard as it is, especially with a lot of people, that I'm making the world a better place. And if we all follow that teaching, do our best to meet everything with love, no matter what the circumstance, that we actually will create a unified world.
I think it's the most important commandment is love thy neighbor. I believe, and I'm going to go more philosophical now or just theoretical. I believe that we're not just made in the image of God. I believe we're a living extension of God. I believe
Agreed.
we're all a living extension of the same God. So for us to be divided and to hurt one another is like literally hurting yourself, like in some very real way. Like I think we're consciousness experiencing itself. Now I'm going into more, new age type stuff there, but I really believe that in some way we are all the same thing. And that's why that is the most important commandment. And once we actually figure that out, like I had a Latvian priest was visiting my parish, and he was like, thou shalt not kill. He's like, when you truly live in Christ, you won't kill. Like the commandments will be there, but they won't be necessary when we achieve that, if we all get there, right? And it was just a profound way. I never thought of it that way.
But I think that's what they're trying to stop.
100%.
Right?
That's why there's wars against Christians, man. You don't see wars against other races like they are coming against Christians. Why? Yep. Because Christ is real. That's why. And we can defeat you with Christ. That's why I believe that. And
I think, okay, so I'm paraphrasing deeply here, like wildly paraphrasing, but like Jesus said, to believe that the spirit derives from the flesh is to believe the opposite of the reality, right? And that the flesh derives from the spirit, that we're just contained. See, what's wild is Joe Rogan, right? On his podcast, he talks about, he said on a number of occasions where one of the UFO experiences that people have had where they talk about the aliens talk about human beings being containers for something.
Yeah, I've heard
that's literally what Jesus says too.
Yeah.
That we're just containers, that the spirit and the flesh are completely separate, that the spirit doesn't derive from the flesh. The spirit is just inside. It's just the flesh is just a container for it, a conduit, a transistor, essentially, right? That's what we are. We're antennas for the spirit.
Yes, 100%.
Right?
It's
and
not
so,
localized.
But if we understood that, right? Like, and I think that's what they're trying to stop is our understanding that, look, the reason why, when you're doing the Catholic prayers in Latin and there's a certain type of breath control is because it's putting you into a meditative state.
That's right.
You're hitting a different frequency. There is a real application. There's a real, what's the word that I'm looking for? There's a real transformation that's happening. Right. And so it's putting you into a certain state. It's putting you onto a different frequency. All these things, they're designed to put you into a frequency. Right. And
there's a quote, man, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is just too relevant. And every intuition is saying to say it. It's an Aldous Huxley quote, who wrote the book, The Doors of Hell, The Doors of Perception, Heaven and Hell. And there's a quote that opens the book. And it's where the band The Doors got their name from. But it's when the doors of perception are truly cleansed, everything will appear to man as it is, in its infinite. And here we are, we're being small, we're being greedy with everything. And I'm no communist or socialist, bro. I know the dangers of collectivism and those ideologies, but we have to be more compassionate. And I truly believe we would. Like in an ideal society, that would be handled by charity. Not the state stealing your money and divvying it up. There would be just mad charity. But we got to get rid of the oligarchs, man. We got to get rid of the greedy people that are endeavoring to control every facet of our life. It's like that Rich Man North of Richmond song. They want to know what you think. They want to know what you do. They own you. Debt-ridden wage slaves. And that's got to change. That's what we're seeing. Something big is coming.
And that's why they're trying to crush the human spirit. I've said this before on Brave New Normal, but I'll say it again. The question is, what are they coming after? Right? They have all the money, they have all the power, they have all the land. Why do they keep going? Well, it's because they want to crush the human spirit. And why? Because the human spirit is a euphemism for the spirit of God. We are all connected to each other. This thing that flows through me and flows through you and flows through the people watching, we're all connected to each other. It's the spirit. We refer to it as the human spirit because it's an easy way for people to understand it. It takes out any, theological context to it. But the reality is that the spirit, the energy that flows through our universe, what you and I would refer to as God, that's what it is. And that's what they're trying to destroy. And I truly believe that I was called home and you were called home. and as were millions of others. And then microphones and cameras were put in our faces, and we just started talking for that purpose. Because I really truly believe that, in what we're doing, we are just vessels. We're just warriors. We're just, we're one of a million. There's a million people doing this right now, but we're all being called for the same reason. To fight.
I agree, man. There's bigger things going on, and we have our own little individual perceptions. And I know we feel like we have all this free will, and we do. That's biblical in and of itself. But many of us are being called for bigger things, like to serve God, right? And that's a true belief of me. And now when I speak like this or have these conversations, which I don't frequently enough, I feel the old me is like judging me. I think of what I would have thought if I heard two guys having this conversation. I would have, get the fuck out of there with this shit. Like that's nonsense, right? Yeah. But when you get there, man, you get there. And I would appeal to everyone that's listening to this episode, like, just read it for yourself. Read the Bible, King James Version. Start and read it, and read some commentaries, read what other people think of it, but start your journey, man, because it'll change your life. I was as cynical and arrogant as it comes when it came to organized religion. And now,
me too.
Now I'm a Catholic, man.
I still am. I still am, dude. I refer to myself as a non-religious Christian, right? But look, I know you got to go, dude. It's late. You got shit to do tomorrow. But for people watching this, if you've sat through this portion of the episode, I was exactly like you, brother. I had an even worse perception of perspective on all this. I thought it was all bullshit. And then God came for me and opened my eyes. And it's weird because I look back on certain. So I'll just in closing, I want to share this story with you because this blew my fucking mind like a couple days ago when I was thinking about it. So baptism was introduced by the Nazarenes, by Jesus and his disciples, to replace animal sacrifice, right? And it wasn't just something that they practiced. It was practiced by their group for hundreds of years prior to Jesus's arrival. Okay, this baptism in the living waters is something that has gone on for a long time, and it's based out of this belief or this knowledge that water is a living entity. And so they baptized in the living waters because Jesus and his disciples understood that the Spirit of God flows in those flowing waters. Okay. So that's why they said baptize in the living water, because they meant living. They meant it when they said that water is intelligent. Anyways, a couple of years ago, I got into meditation because I was having going through a very difficult time in my life, and my stress, I was like to the point of being like on the edge of a heart attack, right? So one day I'm down at the Bow River here in Calgary, and I go in for a swim, and then it dawns on me, just meditate. And so I started meditating in the flowing river, and brother, I hit zero. I disappeared. Yep. I was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And what I realized now in reading all this, that I fucking baptized myself. I submersed myself in the Spirit of God. I didn't know that I was doing it, but I put myself in that intelligence, and then that intelligence cleansed me. It washed me. I was a different person when I walked out of that river that day. It was one of the most transformative moments in my life. So I say all that for people at home just to say, maybe your time isn't now, maybe your moment isn't now, but if you've listened to this part of my episode with JP, you're obviously interested, and I would just want to encourage you to continue to explore that side of yourself and explore the spiritual side, because JP, I was just like you. I was even worse. I was a bad person for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, me too, bro, honestly. I mean, and we're all sinners, but it's like, don't let the modern proclivity for atheism and materialism, like that we reduced everything to just cause and effect. There's no greater meaning. There's no sanctity. Don't let that prevent you from having a relationship with God. Because that's what I did. My own arrogance was the biggest hindrance. Because I knew there was something. Like I said, anyone who's experimented with psychedelic drugs when they were younger, and I did, I played in a band, like, you start to realize, okay, we're just tuned differently, right? Like there's bigger things, huge things going on, right? But it's careful too. You don't want to let something else in there.
Yeah, 100%.
But people should definitely be read the Bible. Number one, don't read books about the Bible. Don't listen to other people talk about it. Start there, man.
Yeah,
read it for
100%.
yourself and see what you get from it. Because you could open it to any page, Old or New Testament, and what you're reading is profound. The depth that doesn't exist in other literature, and I've read extensively, man. There's nothing like this.
I did all this without a spiritual mentor or guide myself. I just went and it was just the voice of God resonating, vibrating through me. I quit drinking unconsciously, right? God just told me, you don't need alcohol anymore. You don't even want it. And it's weird, dude. I was a weekend drinker since I was 12 years old. It was part of my routine. It was part of my ritual. And it wasn't like it was hard to let go of it, or like I was like, okay, that's it. I'm a Christian now. I'm going to stop drinking. That none of that happened. It was just one Saturday rolled around. I was like, I'm just not going to go to the liquor store. I just really don't feel like doing that. And I haven't had a drink since. Right. And that's not just like, this isn't like a magic one-stop shop. Like God's going to fix all your problems. In fact, the thing I tell people the most is that when you walk into the light, you think that everything's going to be easier, but no, man, God drags you through it.
It gets way harder. It's like you're being drug out into the desert and you're being right? So the bad parts of you fall apart. You start to think more morally.
That's right.
Every conversation I have with people, I'm not the old me that just thought things were inconsequential. If I encounter someone and there's a conversation, in my mind, this has to happen. I'm here for a reason. In every moment I'm present, right? And that's something different. And like I say, I appeal to everyone to just look a little deeper, man. We were lied to in the most profound of ways, especially people from our generation. Thankfully now it's coming back and we're seeing people look at it more rationally. Like, I don't know, man. It's funny that I use the term rationally because that's how I feel. When I look at the complexity of life and the human condition, and then I read like, the Big Bang Theory or aspects of evolutionary theory, it's like, no, that's not it. Some of this shit might be true, but that's not it. And then when I read the Bible, it's like, that's it. And there's something that's intangible. It defies description, but it's there. And you start to get it. You get the essence of that in you, and it makes you a better person. So even from a purely secular standpoint, you should want that. You should start to go down those roads.
Just travel, man. Like going back to what we were saying about the kids, I feel like what our kids are subconsciously recognizing is that we need a central action. We need some moral code that we're all going to follow because this subjective my truth bullshit ain't going to work.
No, we live together. I mean, so how can you make your own truth?
I think they're seeing that we've made such a fucking mess of the world that the other way has to be the way.
We've moved so far from God, Jason, that we're becoming unrecognizable. We truly are. And it's bad, man. Like I see evil, and that's really what is bringing a lot of people is they're coming back to Christ through the back door. They're seeing how evil and insidious things are, and people can be when they don't have those core ethics, when they don't have that axiom or that central logos that is Christ. Then they go bad, and things can be justified, right? And that's we're starting to realize that even legally. Like if you take God out of man, then man is just a number, and you can rationalize atrocities like made for mentally ill people. Like what the fuck is even mental illness? And we're going to offer assisted suicide to them? Like, I don't know, man's not a machine to have a chemical imbalance. There's not a pill that's going to cure you and make you normal. Man is a soul, man is a spirit, and life is infinitely complex. So the fact that like people are finding out life is hard and challenging, and they're running to pharmaceutical outlets, they're running to psychiatrists to tell them that they just, take a pill. It's like, no, man, we are souls. We are spirits experiencing something profound. And that's what modern man has forgot. The profundity of existence. We've normalized it and we've cheapened it in some regard.
Yeah. I mean, what's happened is that we have utilized science in ways. We have utilized science to an extent where we have separated science from God without understanding that science is God. What's crazy is on this podcast, I've talked to some of the top scientists in the world. Harvey Risch is professor emeritus of epidemiology at Yale University. He's as high up the mountain as you can go. At the end of that episode, I talked to him about his own spiritual beliefs, and he is a firm believer in God, right? And science the thing about it is like science is the product of God. Science and God are synonymous with each other.
Yeah, 100%. Why would you expect to find order in a random world?
Right.
You know what I mean? And we used to know this. Like that's one of the biggest misconceptions. Science grew out of Western culture. Why? Because of Christ, because of Christianity. Like that's you expect to see order in the external world, or else you wouldn't look if it was random, right? But
evolution,
no,
evolution is just God's upgrades. That's all. I've always said that.
There's a lot of people that have there's a lot of evolutionary biologists that are starting to question fundamentals about the whole premise of the theory. Now we know that there's been adaptation, but that doesn't explain origins. I know his book was Origins of Species by Darwin, but it doesn't. It's inadequate to do that. We've seen fossil records that we can definitely discern that there were adaptations of species, but it's not like, what's the spark? What is life? What is consciousness? There's so many mysteries still, right? And we forget that. Why? Because we have the internet. We could sit on the can and flip through reels, and you know what I mean? Like we forget.
Watch people get hurt.
That's right. We forget the majesty and the profundity of existence. Yeah. It's a mystical experience for everyone.
Yeah, we're more than just space sludge.
That's for sure.
You know, and dude, JP, man, I'm so glad we got to talk tonight, man.
Yeah, it was good. I'm glad we went in that direction too. It's like I say, never get to speak about these things, right? They don't come up very frequently, for sure.
I'm just finding more and more comfort in having these conversations. You know, that's why I want to hold conversations like these on my podcast a lot this year, because I think they're comforting to other people as well. And like, you know, like for myself, I'm not a perfect person, you know, and neither are you. But like, if God can call me, then God can call you. Everybody watching this probably already has and probably is calling. You just got to hear it, you know? Right. And like, man, I'm so glad you and I got to talk about this, brother, because you are somebody I respect so much. I respect you like you wouldn't fucking believe, dude. And like I said,
it's mutual, brother. It's a trip every time I get to talk to you, because I was a big fan before.
Oh, dude, shut the fuck up, man. I listen to you. I listen to you, and I'm just like, fuck. I wish I had like half of that dude's intelligence. You know what I mean? Like, I was saying to was it Payman or somebody else a while ago on one of the episodes? They said you're the real life Goodwill Hunting. You know,
I get that like, a lot, bro. Like wicked smart.
Yeah. But you know, dude, I'm just so happy to know you, and I'm so happy you're out there, and I really hope that we can connect more this year and have these conversations.
Oh, we will. And it's like we were saying about the thing, like we didn't meet randomly. There's a pattern here. There's something, things are happening, right? We're definitely participating in something bigger than the individual self. For sure. Yeah. I truly believe that. And I'm thrilled you had me on, Jason. As always, it's a pleasure to speak with you, brother.
Dude, man. Yeah, dude, of course. It's hard for me because I start booking guests, and then I get 2-3 months into the future, and then I'm like, shit, I really want to book JP on the podcast, but then I'm like 3 months booked, and I don't want to hit you up and be like, you know, in January, hey, what are you doing in July? Like, I don't fucking know, dude. Yeah. You know, so I like, whenever I have like that spot, I'm like, okay, let's get this, let's have this conversation. And I really feel like this happened at the right time. What a perfect way to start 2026, man.
I like it, brother.
JP, before we get out of here, please tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm mostly on X. I'm deboosted everywhere else. So it's Semper Veritas X. And I have a podcast called Dumb the Wiser, and a podcast I do with my friends Chris Erickson and Payman Ascari called The Philosopher, The Stoic, and The Teddy Bear. Both podcasts are Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 p.m. Eastern for Dumb the Wiser, and 3 p.m. Eastern for The Philosopher, The Stoic, and The Teddy Bear.
Guys, listen, you know, I say this about Payman, I say this about Elliot and Right Call Podcast, and I'm saying this about JP. You need to, like, the thing that I love about you, brother, is that you take a completely different approach to things. You don't dig into the numbers, you don't dig into the documents like Payman does. You are purely philosophical. You're just pure depth, dude. And every time you have something to say, like I say, like I want to get high on the hopium and believe that there's like a way for us to follow status quo and get the fuck out of this. And then I listen to you and I'm like, in my heart, I know you're right. And I know you're more right than most people out there. And dude, people watching this, go listen to Dumb the Wiser, subscribe to JP on YouTube, follow him on X. The Philosopher, the Stoic, and the Teddy Bear is my new favorite podcast. I've been listening to you guys for a while, but like you, Payman, and Chris are like the perfect mix. You know, like I was gonna harass Payman about being a guest on your guys' show, and then I was like, no, I'd fuck the whole thing up. Just don't bring me in. You guys just do your thing. You know, brother, I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing, man. I'm so glad you bought your mic and you got your headphones and. You know, because like honestly, you're one of those people that I really think if people were just exposed to you, like Payman, like Chris, that you guys are in your own way making this country, but also the world a better place. And I'm so much wealthier for having known you.
It's like I say, man, my one thing when I started to do this, I told myself I have to be humble. When I'm learning things, I don't learn something and then say, oh, I got it all figured out. You know what I mean? And then get trapped there. I say, okay, what else don't I know? Yeah. And it's not just being humble. It's also being aware that like you're just interpreting it, right? Like just being truthful, not getting your ego involved. Like we were saying, when people attach their egos to their position, because then you can't argue in good faith. Then you're not figuring anything out. You're being arrogant. You're literally letting your ego drive. And it's hard, man. I got to check myself frequently because you get popular. You get a lot of people saying all the nice things you said. And then you got to check yourself. It's like, okay, you know, like I'm still just an average dude trying to make sense of the world like everyone else. Right. So I think that's what's lacking in a lot of this ecosystem, because everyone just gets these big ass egos and then they're audience captured and they're just pushing out slop. I endeavor to not do that. If I would stop in a heartbeat, if I started to think I was. But Brother, it's awesome to hear such things from you, man. I'm a big fan, bro.
Oh, dude, stop it. If you ever did that, you'd break my fucking heart for sure. But I know the thing is, the reason why I trust guys like you and Payman, Chris, and others, a very, very small handful of people, is because I know you guys have too much integrity. And, you know, that's what I respect most about you. And I hope what people respect about me is that, you know, we'll never sell out, because it's just not in our nature to do so. And dude, let's do this again in a couple of months, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'd like to have you on my show as well. I know you're crazy busy, but like shoot me a date. I don't care if it's 6 months down the road, and we'll book it up, because I'd love to do that.
We'll talk offline, dude. Whenever you're ready to have me, I'm on. Like I'll make time for it, no matter what I'm up to. Even if I have to hide in a fucking stall at Chuck E. Cheese at one of my kids' birthday parties or something, I'll make it happen. Don't worry. But guys, before we check out of here, please follow JP, follow the commentators and the people who have real integrity, and JP is one of them. Dude, thank you so much again, and we're going to do this real soon.
Brother, it's always a pleasure, man. I love coming on and speaking with you. It's always fun.
Don't let me on Stoic, Philosopher, and the Teddy Bear. I'll fuck the whole